Welcome back to another Sunday prep day. If you're new here, every Sunday I prep for the week, so that means cutting all my vegetables and making things that take a little bit longer. So today I'm gonna make some tomato soup, and I'll also quickly whip up some tahini sauce. So as always, I'm gonna start by cutting up all my vegetables, and then I'll go over my meal plan while I cut. And then after all the chopping, that's when I'll make the soup and things like that. So, some leek for the tomato soup. Since I have it, need to use it up. I also need an onion, so I'll just cut that into half rings. And yeah, let's just go over the meal plan. It was my birthday yesterday, but I'm not planning anything special this weekend. Just regular meals. If you want to guess, by the way, how old I am, feel free to leave a comment. No one guessed last year, so until people guess, I'm just going to leave it a mystery. But yeah, leave your guesses below. So for lunch today on Sunday, like most Sundays, I will have some sandwiches, I have some whole wheat rolls. I have some sliced chicken breasts, and then I'll do some cucumber because I like adding a little bit of green to my sandwiches. And I'll do some kind of sauce. I think I'm gonna do some buffalo sauce with some mayo. Mix that up and have that on my sandwiches. So if you are new here, I am diabetic. I had to cut some carbs, so most lunches are low-carb keto-friendly, except on the weekend when I have my cheat days, because I really do miss sandwiches. Sandwiches are just so easy. Not only are they delicious, but you can just quickly throw something on, some bread, and you're done. But when I'm eating low-carb, most meals require cooking. It's just a lot more time to make it and to clean up as well. So I do really like my cheat days on the weekend. So I just cut up some more onion for a couple of other dishes as well, which we'll get to when we get to it. So, and to stay with the onions, I also have a red onion that I'm just going to slice up for a couple of different things. So let's see. So we're on Sunday for dinner. Have some shawarma, and I have some wraps. So I'll have some shawarma with peppers, onions. That's one of the things I need the onions for. Some chilies, garlic. Yeah, mainly I'm using wraps because I'm by myself, and if I open a pack of tortillas, I'm not going to finish the whole pack in one meal. So I always have to plan around that and then have 2 meals with them, or if that's a really big pack, maybe even 3. So, because I don't like wasting food. So, with my meal plan, I always make sure I use up all the odds and ends that get left over from other dishes, so that I don't end up with a bunch of leftovers that I'm just going to be throwing away. So, there's probably a video in there somewhere about my meal planning, but I haven't figured out a way yet to make it interesting. But if you're curious to see that, let me know. Some garlic. I'm just going to grate a little bit. That's going to go in my tahini sauce. So I'll just quickly do that. So with our meal plan, we were on Monday. I do meatless Mondays. I like having theme days as well, just to make choosing what I want a little bit easier. So that will probably be enough grated garlic for some tahini sauce. And then I also need a couple of cloves. I'll leave 3 cloves whole. Those are going to go in my soup. Don't need to cut those. And then for a couple of other things, I'll just do 2 cloves. Nice and fine. So, Meatless Monday is where we're at. I got distracted. Went on a little tangent. I'm going to do some tomato soup for lunch. So I'll just prep that today. And then tomorrow I just need to warm that through. I prefer usually preparing all the ingredients and then cook the actual meals on the day of. But soup takes a while, so I do that on Sunday. But for most of my meals, I just prep all the ingredients and not the whole thing. So here I have some spring onions, and I'll just slice those up for my Korean tacos and things like that. So Monday, Meatless Monday for dinner, I'm gonna have some couscous with falafel. So the couscous I will mix with a little bit of lime juice, some diced up cucumber, some diced up peppers, and that some parsley. That should be delicious. Let's see, what are we gonna do next? Let's just do some chilies. I have a couple of chilies here, some cayenne and some jalapenos. The cayenne, I'll just slice up. I'm gonna leave the seeds in. So we were on Tuesday for lunch. I have some sausages. I'm just gonna grill those, and I'll have those with some. I'm gonna have those with some green beans because I had some left over from last week. So, perfect way to use them. And then for dinner, I do Taco Tuesdays. I'm gonna have some Korean tacos. So that's ground beef. That is soy sauce. I'm gonna use some kimchi. I still have that in the fridge. Sesame seeds, sesame oil, onions, chilies, and like a sriracha mayo. So, looking forward to that. And then I'm just cutting up these chilies for a bunch of things like the soup, especially the red, the tacos, and just a whole bunch of things. So these jalapenos, I will take the seeds out just because there's a lot of seed. And then I'll just give them a quick slice. So we were on Wednesday for lunch. I'm going to do a low-carb stir-fry, so I have some broccoli stems left over. I'll dice those up, and I'll use that as the base, so instead of like rice or noodles, I'll do broccoli stems. Is a great way to use them up. They're flavorful and low carb, and if I use them like that, I'm not going to waste them. You could go all the way to broccoli rice, but I just don't care enough to cut it that fine, too much effort. So bigger chunks is good enough for me, like a decent dice. So I have some peppers. I like these pointy peppers. You can use regular bell peppers, but I like using these because some of these are smaller. I'm gonna use 2 red and 1 green. I wrote down in my meal plan and prep guide 2, but mine aren't quite small, so I'll actually use 3. If you do want to follow along, every time I post a Sunday prep day video, I also post on Instagram and lately on Reddit as well with the before and after of the prep, but also the full meal plan and all the ingredients that I'll be using this week, even the ones that you don't see me prep. Because things like the soy sauce that I need for my Korean tacos and the tortillas and the rice and stuff, that's also in that post as well. So you'll find a link to my Instagram below. So let's do this. I need some dice for things like my couscous salad. So half of these I'll dice up and the other half I'll just slice. So this is a nice quick dice. Wednesday for dinner, I'm gonna do a rice bowl, like a bibimbap kind of thing. So I'll do some chicken marinated in some gochujang, some rice vinegar, sesame oil. What else is going to go in there? Some honey. And I'll serve that with kimchi. That should use up the last of my kimchi in the fridge. And probably some edamame or something as well, just for some extra green. And then we're on Thursday. For lunch, I'll have some of those sausages from Tuesday left over. So I will have those, and I'll have them with some frozen edamame. Obviously, I'm going to cook the edamame, but because as I've said for weeks now, I think I'm trying to work through everything in my freezer so I can defrost it. And I have a whole bunch of edamame, peas, and stuff like that in there as well. So I'll be using some of those this week so I can slowly work through that. Because my freezer is like a Mary Poppins bag. Like I keep pulling things out of there and just no end to it. But I'm getting close to getting it empty. It's just taking a long time. I have a lot of stuff in the freezer. And then for dinner on Thursday, I'm gonna do some pasta with some bacon and lots of veggies. So peppers, onions, chilies, garlic. Probably some carrot as well. So then for Friday, if I do fish Fridays, for lunch I'm gonna have some salmon with some frozen peas. Like I said, I'm gonna use those up as much as I can. I'll probably not use all of them yet, but I'm working on it. And then for dinner, I'll do a grain bowl. So I have either some oat rice or some mixed grains. I think that's like wheat, rye, and oats. And I'll have that with probably some grilled fish. Maybe I'll do some fish skewers or some pan-seared fish or something. I don't know yet, but some kind of fish, and then some edamame. So, and I've gotten quite a few questions about this when I mention oat rice. They're also called oat groats. They're basically just the whole grain with the husk removed. So it's like rice, not quite the same, but similar. And it's much more protein, more fiber than rice, and I just like the taste. So I've been having those a lot. So I'm just cutting up some tomatoes. I had these cherry tomatoes left over from last week, so I'll quickly chop those in half or quarter for the slightly bigger ones. Doesn't really matter because they're gonna cook completely down anyway. But might as well use them since I have them. Don't want to let them go to waste. Then I also have some of these bigger tomatoes. Let's just see how many I'm gonna do. I have 5. I don't know yet if I'm gonna use them all. We'll see how much it is when I chop them up. So yeah, these are just for my tomato soup, so I'm just gonna cut them in big chunks. Alright, that's 4. I think that's enough, so I'll just save the last one for another day. For soup ingredients, I need some celery. I'm gonna blend my soup smooth, so it doesn't need to be super fine. So let's just slice it up, don't need to dice it. And that can go in with the rest of the soup ingredients. And sticking to soup ingredients, here I have some carrot. So I'll use a little over half this large carrot for my soup. And again, it doesn't need to be super fine because it's going to get blended. But I like cutting it in half anyway, so it's a little more stable on the cutting board and a little safer. I'm not going to bother taking the skin off because it doesn't bother me. And it's going to get blended anyway and cooked for a long time before that, so why go through the effort of peeling? So they're clean, so that's all that matters, really. So in with the soup ingredients, and the rest of this carrot I'll slice up as well. And those are going to go in my stir fry and my pasta. So just nice thin slices or half slices. There we go. Then next up, some parsley. So I need some of the parsley for my soup and some for my couscous salad. For the soup, I'm mostly going to use the stems with a little bit of the leaves. That's just perfect to use it because it has all the flavor, but when I blend the soup up, I don't want all that green in there. So that's a very efficient way to use them. And the top, first I'm just going to give a rough chop, so it's just easier to work with. And then run my knife through until everything is nice and fine. And this I'll just mix in my couscous with the other vegetables, some lime juice, and I might add some vegetable stock to the couscous as well. And sticking with chopping some herbs, here I have some cilantro for my Korean tacos, among other things. So again, just give it a rough chop first. Use up most of the leaves, and then the bottom part, which is mostly stem, I'll save that for things like curry paste, which I really need to make again sometime soon because the cilantro stems are stacking up. Next up, some cucumber. So one I'm going to slice for my sandwiches and probably for my shawarma as well. And the other one, I'm going to cut both of the ends off, and then I'll turn these into dices for my couscous salad. So cut them in slices lengthwise, then lengthwise again for some long strips, and then across for a nice fine dice. Up next, I have some broccoli stems. So I did take all the little remnants of the leaves and the leaves off, and then cut in half. Cut all the way to the bottom end. Like this part is quite dry, so I don't want to use that, so I'm going to cut all the way to it. That will also help keep things apart together. And then I'll dice it. And when I get to that last part, that I'm going to toss because that's really dry. I don't want that. But the rest is all fair game. So I'll just do that for the rest of these stems. And then last thing for chopping is just a bunch of green beans. I need enough for one portion. This is just the last of what I had left over from last week, so it's going to be a pretty big portion, but nothing wrong with a little extra greens, and they're really low in calories anyway, so it's all good. So I'll just top and tail this whole bunch real quick. Okay, and we're at 26 minutes. I have all the chopping done for the week. So I'm going to quickly put away the things I don't need anymore and preheat my Ninja Foodi on saute so we can make the soup, and then we'll just get started with that. So back in a moment. All right, my Ninja Foodi is preheated, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of oil. And then I'll add my veggies. So I have onion, garlic, leek, carrot, and celery. And I'll also add some chilies because I do like some spice, and I'm specifically using the red chilies for color reasons. I'll add some salt, and the tomatoes and the parsley I'm gonna add at a later stage. That's why I have them in separate containers. And while I'm letting those veggies soften, I'm gonna work on my tahini sauce. So here I'm just gonna juice some lime. I'm not gonna use the whole lime, but I'll just use it anyway because the rest I'll just use tomorrow. And here I have the garlic I grated earlier, and I also added a little bit of tahini. If you don't know what tahini is, it's sesame paste. So I'm just going to add some lime juice, mix that in. I'm just making a small portion, so I'm just doing small amounts. Add a touch of salt, and I'll just add a little bit of water to thin it out. Mix that, see if that's the consistency I want, otherwise I'll add a little bit more. And that's the tahini sauce done. In the meantime, my vegetables have softened, so I'm going to add my tomatoes, and I'll give that a minute to soften a little bit as well. And then I'll add my parsley stems. I'll add some water. Make sure that's mostly submerged. And then I'm going to take my pressure cook lid, close it, make sure the valve is closed. And I will pressure cook this because I can. I have a pressure cooker, but you can totally do this on the stovetop or slow cooker. I just like things to go a little bit faster, especially since I have to film this, edit this, and everything. So I'll just give it like 20-30 minutes until everything is soft. Then I'll remove the parsley and quickly blitz that up. So I'll just be back when that's done. Okay, the soup is done. So I'm just gonna fish out my parsley. That served its purpose. It's given some flavor, but now I don't want that green in there. And because I left them whole, they're really easy to pick out. And then I'll just quickly give that a blitz with my stick blender. And that needs to cool down before I can put that in a container to store. So I'm gonna end the video here. If you like this kind of content, I do this every single Sunday. And if you'd like to see what I ultimately do with all the ingredients, you can check out my Instagram where I post every single meal, or you can check out the video that I post about once a month on here, where I show you everything I eat in a day for a whole week. And I'm gonna film that after I end this video. So that should be coming out on Friday. So if that all sounds good to you, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching. Until next time, bye for now.